what do we have inside this case? It's rather large. It's made with wood and leather, and it's made to hold something very specific. Let's make some coffee. Or should I say, let's make a highly custom case to hold some very special coffee-related equipment. The star of this project is really the leather. And we're using a pretty thick veg-tanned hide and staining it in a darker color. And in terms of process, first up, a coat of water-based dye, and then some neatfoot's oil to treat it. However, the leather was so dry it soaked it up immediately. At this point, the color wasn't that dark, so we added another coat of water-based dye, this time in a slightly redder shade, and it was perfect. So, first step here is to cut the leather up. And the design is quite simple yet effective. What we need is primarily one large piece of leather that's going to almost wrap around itself. And then we need a little extra for straps as well. But to cut it in pieces here, getting the knife sharp on the strap. And also sharpening the skiving knife on the tormek. So you want this super sharp. So that's beautiful. The leather is quite thick, so in many areas it needed to be made thinner in order for it not to get too bulky. The idea here is that I really like making coffee. I think it is a really fun thing to do, and I've collected quite a few of favorite coffee making equipment. Last year I was thinking to myself that it would be kind of neat to be able to take my favorite things with me out on adventure, whether to go out in the backyard or a vineyard or the park and make coffee there. But in order to do so, I needed something relatively light and something that would organize it, and that's what this is. So at first look here, I mean, you're just kind of seeing the leather, you're seeing stitching, some hardware, we have some wooden sides. So the wood on the sides is what's really the key to the shape of the bag, because the leather forms around it. This seemed like the perfect opportunity to cut these pieces on my Avid CNC. And as always, I use Vectric to design the files on. And these are not perfect oval shapes. They're a bit asymmetrical, where one end is flatter and the other one more pointy. And in terms of wood, this is white oak, probably one of my favorite woods. Solid, durable, beautiful grain. And as you can see, it's really just going to wrap around. To treat the wood, just using some of our wax polish to give it some protection. This is our mineral oil beeswax polish, which you can also use on leather. So once the whole case is completed, we'll be able to treat the whole thing, wood and leather, using the polish, which is kind of nice. This is a type of tape, very useful to hold the piece in place while you're working. And what we're doing is cutting holes with an awl and then screwing the leather to the wood using these beautiful brass screws. The only slightly tricky part about brass screws is, I mean, they look really great, but they're also quite soft, so they're easy to strip. So you have to be a little bit careful when you put them in. At this point, the front is rather long. This front leather piece is rather long, and it's a little floppy. Now, a piece of wood on the inside will not only stiffen the whole thing up, but it will also provide some more mass that hardware can attach to later on. mean, it's quite sizable, but at the same time, it's not so large that it's difficult to take with you, right? It is like the definition of custom in that sense. So this case here has everything that you need to make a really good cup of coffee. First of all, this is a nice fellow gooseneck kettle. We have accompanying fellow pour-over system. Let's see, we have coffee. This is a little time-war scale. This is a hand grinder. You know, I have an electric grinder, but this is the time when I think the hand grinder is absolutely perfect for a situation like this. So I actually really like this one. This has a great feel. Okay, we have a burner system cup to make coffee in. Water, a little lighter. So once you have the skeleton, the basic case, you don't really want to just throw everything in there, right? Not only would it scratch up the equipment, it would just go all over the place. So some sort of organizational system inside is important to think about. Now, what do you make that out of? How about some thinner leather? We also need something to create some thickness and rigidity in certain areas. So got some cardstock here. So basically just some thicker paper. Now, a really great way to create dividers is to glue hardstock in between leather using contact cement. You apply on all surfaces, let it dry, and then connect together. You can use a bone folder to clean up any folds and make it smooth. And then here we're adding some elastic band to create a hold down system for some of the pieces, which we ended up not really using too much in the end, but it's kind of neat that you can build in this fashion system to hold whatever things you're looking to organize. And dividers make a big difference. Have you seen one of these? This is one of these kind of USB charging lighters. Smell like 12. If you're making coffee for just one person or even two people, my favorite is definitely using the hand grinder. It takes a little while, but it has the most satisfying sound, and it's kind of a nice moment, you know, trying the coffee. I do love this system here. It just fits in just perfectly. So, first do a little and an initial. So now we have the basic case with dividers. Still, we need some way to carry it, to hold it. So first up, making straps. Now using straps and buckles really is such a straightforward way of closing the bag. And the first step is cutting and gluing the straps to the case to secure them. And again, we need to do a little skiving to thin out certain parts to make sure this doesn't get too thick to work with, especially where two pieces connect. Then once secured, you can mark out where the holes in the stitching need to go, because you definitely want to sew this in place in addition to glue to make a stronger connection. And here we opted for a rather visible stitch with a contrasting white waxed thread. I think it's a rather nice detail. I always like when you can see how something is put together through the work, and it shows here quite clearly. Then on the other side, we need the buckles that the straps will connect to. These are beautiful classic brass buckles, rather large, perfect for this application. If you're just concerned with having the coffee itself, I mean, you could certainly make coffee ahead of time before you head out and then put it in a thermos. But one of my favorite things is actually the process of doing all this, of grinding the coffee, measuring the beans, pouring it out, the method of the pour over. I think it's kind of relaxing and fun. So I was thinking, the reason why I thought this would be a cool idea is that I love the idea of being able to do this and make more coffee as well if you have, more people, or you just kind of want to do it for yourself. Either way, this gives you so much more flexibility in terms of being able to do this somewhere else. I don't mean portable when you want to go backpacking and bring this along. I mean portable in the sense that you put this in your car, you drive somewhere, you can carry it a little ways. But that you're gonna go out hiking with it. That's not what I mean. And in the middle here now we can add a brass handle that will connect to the wood piece on the other side. So you have some way to lift this bag if you don't want to carry it by the strap. And to secure the straps in place, we're doing my favorite method of securing leather to wood, stitching. Of course, you need to drill holes into the wood, but then you can simply treat it as another piece of leather and sew the leather to the wood through those holes. To secure the leather insert, we're using the same technique of contact cement, which creates a good bond. In terms of powering, you could avoid, a burner system like this if you brought a battery with you, a portable battery. But the one thing that you have to think about then is you really need an electric kettle to go with it. Then you could plug it in and you would avoid this. I've done this, I've taken this out with an electric kettle, which works great as well. But then of course you do have to bring along that larger power station. It's pretty packed in here, which is perfect. It's almost better if it's full, right? Because then you want to claim your bed. Let's go out and have some nice coffee somewhere.
We're at a little vineyard here. Gonna have a picnic, some wine, and then maybe some coffee.
So here we've got the electric fellow kettle, so then you need to bring the base as well as the kettle along, which works in here. We also got 2 water bottles and some additional cups, and it can fit quite well. Obviously, if you're going to a public place like a vineyard, it might be a better idea to bring a battery as opposed to a propane gas burner. So this setup here is very clean, and so many of these smaller portable power stations these days can even handle a water kettle if it has a powerlifting mode or something like that. I think it's just fun to bring out your favorite stuff and make everyone a really good cup of coffee. It's like the most fancy portable coffee setup. In terms of equipment, these are pieces that we use every day to make coffee inside the house at home. I rather like the idea of that you don't bring out some other coffee equipment that you know got separately for this and that you don't use very often. This is designed so you can pack up what you have and then use it in a different location. Of course, the pour-over system here is individual. We often make coffee in a larger pour-over system at home, so each cup is done at a time. That's really quite neat. I also think a project like this is something that's nice to just have on hand. You may not use it all the time, but every now and then, it's fun to pack up your stuff and head out. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys soon.